Rolling.
Hey, this is Lance with Field Trial Central again. We are south of Towner, North Dakota. We're going to interview Dave Pomfret. Dave has been coming here for quite a few years, and we'll let him tell his story of that. But one thing that we're going to try to get out of Dave is that grounds that he's on is pretty popular, pretty historic, got a lot of history to it. I know Snakefoot and some of the other dogs that Gary and Diane Christensen with the Elhu dogs, and they train in this exact area. So we had a lot of followers the last three interviews. Everything's going well. We love the comments. Please keep giving us more comments. fieldtrialcentral.org is the website. And again, we're all about trying to bring our sport into an electronic era and make the club secretary's job a lot easier. No more paperwork, no more chasing money. Everything's electronic, and that's what we're after, just to try to streamline this and promote the sport through that. So without any further ado, here's Dave Pomfret. Hey Dave, welcome back to North Dakota.
Thanks, Lance. I'm honored that you are asking me to be interviewed. Thank you.
I think it's the person on this side is the honor, so appreciate it. So I know that you've been coming here for quite a few years, Dave. You heard the introduction, obviously. Give me a little bit of understanding, and our followers, just some of the reason why you come to the prairies. I know you mainly are out of Virginia. You do a lot of your trials out of the East Coast, maybe a little bit in different terrain. So for our followers and listeners and your clients that are going to be watching the interview, right? Why do you come to the prairies, Dave?
Well, my first year up here was 2005, and it's my primary reason that summer was to get out of the Virginia weather. You just cannot train a dog in Virginia July, August, or September. 90 degrees in the morning, 89% humidity, can't do it. North Dakota, I was told, is the place to be. So I came up here with the help of a local fellow that I had met in Virginia, and he found me a place to lease. And I leased for a couple of years and then realized that I really wanted to own my own grounds because I wanted them manicured for what I want to accomplish with dogs.
Yep.
The particular piece of ground I'm on, we call it the Ronland Ranch, and that's the Norwegian Ronland. So a couple letters in there you don't really pronounce.
Yep.
But it was originally the Leach Ranch. And Thomas Leach, after World War II, decided that he could find oil in North Dakota. And he started exploring. Of course, they found it in the Williston Basin.
Right.
But he wanted to own a ranch. And he started buying up property in this area. And this was part of the original Leach Ranch. I guess we'll get maybe back into that. But the weather, the grounds were my primary reason to come up here.
Yep.
And it continues to be.
Right.
My grounds in particular, since I was able to purchase them, I've groomed them so that they mimic closer to East Coast grounds.
Yep.
Edges, clumps, nice big stretches. Having grounds that a dog has to handle to get around.
Yep.
If I were training or if I were trialing strictly in the prairie,
Yep.
I'd go down the road and go on Pete Miller's property and not turn a dog for 2.5 miles.
Right.
But around here, I want to mimic what I trial on the East Coast.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah. Pretty good information there as far as, even though it's the prairies and a lot of people think of the openness to it and the wild birds, you've purchased your property, you're manicuring it to simulate your grounds that you're going to go and compete your dogs on and obviously try to, place your dogs and do as best you can. So cool temperatures obviously allow you to do that compared to Virginia all day long.
Here it is. It's still the end of July. I saw 47 degrees one morning already.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the 50s every morning.
Yeah.
Which is, you just can't beat it.
Yeah.
The reason we're indoors, by the way, is we got the first rainstorm we've seen since I've been here.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
afternoon rain. Yep.
Rather than stand out in the rain, we decided to come in the trailer here.
Yep.
I do have big breakaways and big stretches here that I can teach dogs to stretch out.
Yes.
I've won a number of Derby championships with dogs because they learn to run.
Right.
Now, if they can run here, they can eat up East Coast grounds.
Right. Yeah.
So this is bigger than most East Coast grounds.
Yeah, and for our listeners, we also hold the North Dakota Pointing Dog Club fall trial here. Dave is gracious enough, to let us do that. And, we always have a lot of good, comments coming out of that. And absolutely, I mean, some of the dogs that only run up here in the prairies or, sometimes, Minnesota, Wisconsin, you got to hold an edge, or they're running through the, the Namakogan, Solon Springs area, or that's wooded, no matter what the place you're on, like you just said, Dave, your first cast is nearly 3/4 of a mile to a mile cast, right?
That's
and
right.
then you get into your edges. So
right.
you're still working on your dog's pattern. You're teaching them to stretch out, and then you're teaching them to handle, right?
Yeah, and what the Alliance pipeline comes through my property. It's all underground.
Yeah.
And that's a nice stretch.
Yeah.
That runs from one corner to the other, and that's If I want to really stretch someone out, I just push them down that pipeline.
Yep, perfect. So the next question, Dave, is we kind of touched on at the beginning of the introduction is the history of this area. If you can just touch a little bit on the history of the area that we're in with some of the Elhu dogs, Gary and Diane, and all the history that comes with it. I know that some of this area, and I think your ground specifically, they started running the Dakota Saskatchewan Open All Age and Shooting Dog Championships on it years ago before they moved them. So if you can just give us a little understanding of some of that history, and then again, how did you come to getting the grounds that you're on? How did you come to get them?
Well, these grounds in particular, again, my local friend, after I had leased a couple years and decided I wanted to buy something, I had him looking, and I was able to locate this particular piece of land that was for sale. And there's not a lot of land for sale up here,
right.
Especially to outsiders.
But
the people are extremely gracious, and my neighbors are unbelievable. But this was the Leach Ranch at one time. And Thomas Leach, who found the oil in North Dakota, he wanted to own a township, which is
36
sections.
Yeah, 36 sections, 6 by 6.
Which is 6 miles by 6 miles. And he was pretty well there. And then he passed away, and his wife passed away shortly after. Dennis Jeffries bought the property. And Dennis ran a pheasant operation for a while, and he got to know the bird dog trainers. And through Dennis, they got closed out of Canada, and it was either a quarantine or dryness. And I am not positive the story there. Some of the old trainers will know it for sure.
Yep.
And they came down here, and they ran the North Dakota, Saskatchewan on these grounds, and they would go on down to Harry Anderson's property, make a big loop, and come back up through where Diane and Gary Christensen were, and swing around. Camp was cow camp, which is 3/4 of a mile down the gravel road from me. It was a little stucco building where the cowboys would calf the cows. So they would live in there as they were calving cows in January and February. Like they do in here. And one of the granddaughter of the lady that served all the meals, Minnie Schmidt, is the girl that works for me, and she's worked for me for 4 years now.
Yes.
And she goes back to Virginia with me. Little Bobby Layton.
Bobby Layton.
And she. So this place is kind of near and dear to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's lots of people that have been on these grounds, and I somewhere out here where my dogs are is Snakefoot's barrel.
Right.
Because
I've always heard that.
Gary came over one day. I hadn't met Gary Christensen, and came over, and he had a barrel in the back of his station wagon. And anyone that knew Gary, station wagon fit him. And he wanted to know whether I wanted to buy some barrels, and I said sure. And I said how much, and he said $20. And I thought, gee, that's kind of a lot of money for a barrel. And I said, well, how many you got? And I think he had 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. And it was $20 for all of them, by the way.
Oh gosh.
So I said, I'll take them. And then I asked him, I said, well, which one was Snakefoot in? Oh, I don't know. He was probably in them all. So, but I know I've got that one still. It was a blue barrel. And I should write Snakefoot on it. Anyhow, it's they're unique.
A lot of history.
A lot of history here, and they're very, very unique. Steve Hurdle
Yep.
came and ran at one of my early trials I ran here, and he had run here back in those days as well.
Gotcha.
And Bonnie Hidalgo,
Yep.
actually, she spent a summer up at Cow Camp, which was the headquarters,
Yep.
and she trained here
Yep.
one summer. And she came back for one of the trials we had here. She came back, and some of the rancher boys who were 23 and 24, we got the pictures out when they were sitting in her lap as babies.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
It's quite something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just you get pieces from all the trainers that are here, and this spot though, there's just so rich in history, and all of the spots really are. If you go up to the Columbus area,
Yep.
or you go to the West Hope area where Randy Anderson's at. We interviewed him. A lot of history, but this place, it has its own uniqueness to the bird dog world, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we have one other trainer on the ranch. He's down the road about a mile, and I've brought several trainers up here from Georgia.
Yep.
And once you come to North Dakota once, you're here for life every
Right.
summer.
Yep.
There's no staying home in the summer anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so you're saying it's pretty much a have to. I mean, if you don't, you're going backwards with your training.
You're going backwards with your whole program. Absolutely.
Yep.
There's so much gets done up here. Some people, I do a lot of yard work up here. I do a lot of table work.
Yep.
I run dogs. We do have to release birds, but I do have places I can
Yep.
put dogs on wild birds.
Right.
I usually wait until August for that.
Yeah.
And there's it's 7 days a week up here.
Right.
At home, you got something to fix, or you've got to mow the grass, or but here, they got one thing to do.
Yep. Focus on those bird dogs and
Yep.
getting them the best they can be.
Yep.
Yep. Well, that's a good segue into it, Dave. So the bird dogs, right? That's why we're here. So during your camp, we've heard it from some of the other trainers. Well, let's talk about your program here as far as what do you want to accomplish with a puppy derby dog, a greenbroke dog, your finished dogs, the dogs that might be titled already. What are you focusing on with those level of dogs when you come to your summer camp?
Well, first of all, I bring just about everything with me. I have puppies, I have derbies, I have greenbroke dogs, I have champions, I've got a few retrievers, and I got a couple hunting dogs.
Yep.
So everyone gets a slightly different program. The puppy and derby, they learn to run,
Yep.
and they learn to stretch out. And there's no place like North Dakota to teach them that, because the first objective may be a mile away.
Yep.
But once they start finding there might be birds out there,
Yeah.
they're going to line out and go to that objective, rather than some random hunting pattern that isn't very attractive at a field trial.
Yep.
The derby dogs, we want to put a handle on them. They're going to do the same thing, but you've got to have a handle on them. I'm finding that I'm running fewer and fewer puppies and derbies in competition because they learn to run too well for the East Coast.
Oh, yes.
And what happens is they get away from you, and when a puppy and derby gets away from you and they get into birds, bad things happen.
Yep.
So we're teaching them things that we don't necessarily get to use too well on the East Coast. But the greenbroke dogs, that's when you start putting things together.
Yep.
You can do yard work any time of the day out here.
Yeah.
It's always cool enough
Right.
and comfortable to go out and do some yard work. We actually even use some pigeons for initial breaking and so forth.
Yep.
The broke dogs, we just put some more finesse in them. Work on style. If any little hole in their performance, we work on that.
Yep.
I don't like to point my finger at the problems. I try not to create problems, but every dog has a little hole here or there, so we try and polish it up a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
And then the finished champions, they get roaded, and they get to go out and have some fun.
Yep.
And cause they're a lot of fun anyhow.
Right.
They're always fun.
Yep. Absolutely.
I bring horses with me, so we get to simulate field trials. If I can encourage another trainer to come in for a day, we'll run dogs in braces just like field trial, and it's just great training.
Yep.
The hunting dogs, I keep them close.
Yeah.
They don't get any benefit out of the prairie.
But the wild birds.
The wild birds. Oh,
you know,
yeah.
teaches them to hunt because they got to hunt every step, right?
Yep. And I keep them in close, and we'll shoot birds over them. You know,
Yep.
some of the released birds we'll
Yep.
shoot over them. The retrievers, I condition them for their owners for the fall, and I've got a tank at the windmill that they get to swim around in.
Right.
This year is so dry that my pond, there's no swimming in it.
Oh,
It's dead dry.
dry. Okay. Yeah.
So they have to enjoy the 5,000 gallons of the windmill pond, which is fine.
Right. Yeah, it's a little different, you know, because we've heard all the other trainers that they've had moisture this year. But this area of North Dakota, a little bit drier, you know, just hasn't had that rain like the other spots of North Dakota.
It's really, it's really.
Yeah, this area just kind of we're barely south of Highway 2, and it just seems like there's a little strip that didn't get it like the rest of the state did.
The good thing is we don't have mosquitoes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Dave, we're going on 15 minutes, and it's great stuff, and I want to continue it. You know, there's just so much history here, but, you know, we'll keep it simple for our listeners. So, you know, what does the rest of your fall look like after you break camp in that, you know, September, October time frame, headed back to the East Coast, I assume, or you headed back to trials, and then I know you do a little bit of guiding.
Yeah. Well, I'll leave here. I'll probably go right to a field trial on the way home.
Yep.
Catch maybe one or two field trials before I get home. I'm going to be leaving around the 1st of October this year. Then I do all the upland managing at BlandfieldPlantation.com.
There you go. Hey, you got to give them a plug, right?
And it's a very high-end plantation type hunting, and I have hunts booked already starting the 1st of November, and then I will. The good thing is we don't book hunts on weekends. It's mostly corporate, so I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the corporate hunts are not on weekends, so I can field trial on a weekend.
Then you go back to field trial, absolutely.
And I've got 2 trials at Blandfield, and then we go up and down the East Coast a little bit and try and catch as many as I can.
Wonderful. Well, that's excellent. I appreciate the comments, Dave. It's been great talking to you. I've known you for several years, but we've never really sat down and talked specifically about the things that we did today. So I appreciate it, and I know that our listeners are going to appreciate it. So have a great time this summer in North Dakota. Good luck in your camp, and I wish you well this fall.
Thanks, Lance.
Yep.